Hi, welcome back. I'm Mabel Holler, and I am going to read today the two sample page sets, one that didn't get me any requests and one that has gotten me 7 full requests so far. And we're going to just compare the two openings to my book. To start out, I sent about 5 to 10 queries, and then I sent probably another 5 queries with these opening pages, different query letters, different versions, but these were the sample pages I used for the first probably 15 queries. And I didn't get any feedback, and I also didn't get any requests. This was the original opening to my book. A dusty detonation erupts over me as the tome closes in my hands with a thwack. Mousy squeaks escape from Liddy as she sweeps through the silence of the library. Sliding up beside me, her whispers engulf me. These tomes are hundreds of years old, Maeve. Mistreating them will teach you nothing. With one hand, she's sliding the gilded edges back towards her, and with the other, she's smoothing down an invisible stray of her graying hair. At 49, Liddy is nearly 30 years my senior. When the petite woman motions me back here, she's always got this half smile, restrained like she means to keep it hidden. Her eyebrows arc as she scans the encircling stacks for tattletales. Technically, it's forbidden for anyone but the libraries to be back here. It's also strictly forbidden to have any food or drink inside the library. Liddy always makes an exception for sweets. Tucking the wrapped basket of goods I bring down under the counter, she rubs the counter judiciously like she's cleaning something off. The sin goes away if you wipe hard enough, right? And I literally wrote, guys, in the corner, not strong enough for an opening. Two things. One, yes, we get a sense of Maeve's character, and that's wonderful. But we actually don't have any sense of what is happening, why it's important. There's literally no mention of a dragon, which is kind of the whole point of the book in these pages. Okay, so I had to go get my computer because I remembered that the new pages I wrote weren't actually in the printed version of my book. And this is because as I was querying, like I've said in my query video, if you haven't seen it, you can view that here. The query request video showed exactly the query, and I go through the wording on how I sent the query out. And while I was querying, I realized that my story didn't start with any action, so I wanted to put the action forward. And in order to do that, I realized that my original query stated that 5 years after receiving a dragon egg, something starts to happen with Maeve. And I realized that having that 5 year gap was what was slowing down the pacing of the story. We're starting 5 years after something's happened, and that's not really smart. So I went back to the beginning and I wrote a whole new opening, and I edited from beginning to end the book to reflect that the dragon egg is arriving today in the moment, not 5 years later. And that is the opening scene of my book and the pages that have gotten me 7 full requests. So I will now read the pages the first chapter of the pages that got me 7 full requests. And I will say that that chapter in the library is still in the manuscript. It's just later. So these are the pages that got me 7 full requests so far. My mother's death is absolution, just not mine. Her face is still porcelain white. Her ebony hair, peppered with gray, is still draped down around her in a cocoon of beauty. Even the pellets of frigid rain don't break the delicate cloth of her skin as her body lays elevated in the coffin. It's a level of perfection I'll never reach, and the acolyte performing the funeral knows it. His sunken eyes assess me and my sins with every judgment afforded man. Near the head of her coffin, the acolyte shifts his weight, clasping his hands together near his midline. The cloaked man begins the ritual of the passing. Each word is like a hellhound nipping at my heels. We recognize the passing of Viorel Landry's soul into the next life and ask Irina to accept her in the after. Viorel was faithful to the Triad her whole life. In this she will prevail and evade the depths of Fima's infernal hells. He rasps. I scan the faces in the small cohort honoring my mother. They respect the steadfast belief with which my mother anchored her soul, her constant toil every day in the bakery, how she worked to feed those less fortunate than her. The Adlers wouldn't have missed this for the world. Eliza's auburn hair is hidden behind the thin, black lace of a veil she bought specifically for today. The black makes her look older than her 20 years. A dapper suit doesn't mask Eric's restlessness. He still looks more youthful than his sister, despite being the older twin. Their mother and father held their heads high. They are proud of the life my mother lived, and proud of me in a way that makes my stomach curdle. The one face I don't see is his. This one absence is more telling than anything he's ever done. My father will never receive absolution for missing mother's funeral, and if Irina tries to give it to him, I'll rip him from the after myself. Miss Landry, the lofting. The acolyte has crossed the dirt of the graveyard and come to halt in front of me. He passes me the 3 small tens, one for each of the sister goddesses who created Edril. The tree looming over me has protected me from the sprinkling rain, wetting the hole dug for my mother's coffin, but I must leave its custody, because she'd want me to complete the lofting. Goddesses, she might even sit up straight in her coffin and scold me if I don't. I count 3 steps from tree to coffin. 3, because somehow maybe that will absolve me of my doubt. It's not that I doubt the existence of the triad, it's just that I don't trust them or the religion of the mages of Crete Clare have imposed on Cyrese. There were older religions, different thoughts that no one dares whisper about anymore. My breath rattles in my lungs as I balance the 3 tens in my hand. I reach into the first and fist the salt for Tova. She's my favorite sister goddess, if I have one. Her desire for knowledge triumphs all. If I can agree with the triad on one thing, it's that the pursuit of truth is divine. The salt sizzles as I drop it over my mother. I open the next 10, discarding the first to the acolyte next to me. A putrid breeze accosts me and threatens to eliminate the small fire licking at the tin's edges. The flames are for Fema, and are cloaked in magic, because they don't burn my hands. I set the tin ablaze with amber flames next to the foot of her coffin. The flame will protect her mortal body. In that I concur, because fire wards off many evils. It will protect the graveyard from the demons that prowl the woods at night, the creatures of our nightmares as children. These demons are a terrible scourge on the Grimlamar. With a horrid name we don't speak to keep children from knowing the truth of the depths of the darkness in this world. But that fire will eventually burn out. I just won't be here to see it. This is where I say my farewell to her, here and now. As the plopping rain of the last fall storm wets my face, I alone drop lavender atop her casket. Lavender for Irina, creator of the after, perfect and everlasting. But lavender was also my mother's favorite flower, likely because of this association. The acolytes enlist 2 gentlemen to help move her coffin into the hole next to it. Eric and his father, Edgar Adler, pick up the 2 ends of the coffin and heft it over. My mother found true salvation in the triad, in the after, and in the knowledge that something was worth living for. I have yet to find it. The wet ground gives way under the soles of my feet as I traverse the graveyard. My mother's coffin is now 6 feet under, and I'd like to be anywhere else. My left arm is intertwined with Eric's, and my right is squeezing Eliza for dear life. Without these 2, I'd be at the bottom of a barrel at Missy's tea room right now. I consider myself the 3rd sibling to the auburn-haired duo. As neighbors, the 3 of us played together since infancy. We amble toward the entrance of the graveyard, and the crowds begin to disperse. Movement catches my eye, and I watch as a tough-looking man rides in on a chestnut mare. From the edges of the graveyard, the 2 Blackthorn's interest is piqued. The guards allow him to pass. Their presence here at all alarms me. Guards at the graveyard could only mean one thing. The demons have returned. The rider isn't from Cyrese. His skin is too sun-kissed to be a permanent resident in this part of the continent. A clean-shaven beard and soft cream-colored trousers suggest his occupation doesn't typically include riding. Maeve Landry, he calls, when he's trotted close enough. I nod. At my confirmation, he drops off his horse and rummages through the sack on his back. He hands me a small package wrapped in thin brown paper. From your father. Open it alone, he says. His words thrum through me. First comes the familiar pang of thrill pounding through my veins. It's quickly superseded by the annihilation of all positive sensations when I realize what this means. My father isn't coming, and I'm still not immune to his tactics. I unwrap from Eric and take the small box. The courier tips his head and lifts himself back onto the horse. Wait, I cry. My father, where is he? I swallow back the disgust at my own pleading. My voice sounds too much like the child I was around him. The courier doesn't answer that question. open it alone, is all he supplies before tugging at the reins of his horse's bridle and ripping off into the Grey Lamar woods. My father's gifts to me were always exciting, but never made up for his lack of appearance. But those were birthdays or school graduations. My mother's funeral, his wife's funeral, should have warranted more than a gift. There isn't a singular excuse I could make for him. Even she wouldn't be able to logic this one away, though there is no doubt she would have tried her best. Ripping at the paper seam of his package, I choke on the tears that slide down my chapped cheeks, raw from days of crying. Eliza's hand comes to rest atop mine. Her auburn eyes are like combs of honey, oozing with warmth. "You said to open it when you're alone," she says. I take a minute to survey the graveyard. A few townsfolk who came to see my mother's descent still dot the field. Some some stop at their own family members' grave markers. Others whisper softly to each other. Eric scowls at Eliza, and despite the chasm inside me, a smile tugs at the corner of my mouth. His curiosity has always gotten him into trouble, as has mine. It's all I can do not to slash the paper and discover whatever cryptic gift my father felt would atone for his truancy. I'd honor his wish and wait until I was alone, not only because wandering eyes meant danger, but more importantly because my mother's descent was barely over, and whatever conspiracy this particular package alluded to, she wouldn't want any part of. And today was about honoring my mother. Tonight can be about vindicating my father. I crouch beneath the window in the reticent bedroom. The branch-broken spears of eerie moonlight infiltrate the darkness through my window. Alone, finally, for the first time, I rip off the brown paper encasing a black box. Atop it is a folded piece of parchment. A sprig of lavender is sketched on the top fold, a message from my father. My heart thrums to life, and adrenaline is a welcome distraction from the grief I bury. When my breath steadies, I unfold the parchment to find a crudely drawn map, circles, dots, and a lavender sprig inside an archway. A puzzle for another time. It's what's underneath the letter that sparks my interest. The box feels leaden against my lap, and from inside it an oblong object peers out. It's an egg. The egg is deep jade, so dark it's almost black. It appears I might have been wrong. This box might absolve him, because my father just sent me the only dragon egg on the continent, and dragons only bond with worthy souls. So basically, this concept, these pages actually put the action forward. First, we're at an event, her mother's funeral, that's like really important to her, characterizes the religion of the continent, which is super important in the later part of the manuscript, and then also tells us a lot about the relationship between her mother, and her father, and her friends. And then we have also this like major event happening with the dragon egg coming to her and her opening it and her realizing, oh my god, there's dragon egg. But also I think like what's super cool is the characterization of the of Maeve's reaction, because she realizes like, oh, this dragon egg might actually absolve my father of the fact that he didn't come to my mother's funeral, because clearly like if he's given me a dragon egg, there's something important going on. He also feels like I'm worthy enough for a dragon egg. And so there's this thread that's major through the manuscript about her father not thinking she's enough, or her worrying that she's not enough for her father. Obviously he was in and out during her childhood, as it's explained in those first pages. So I think the first pages are interesting, intriguing. The first line I really love, and that's, my mother's death is absolution, just not mine. And I think this is a really key theme throughout the rest of the book, is this idea that her mother believed like solely in the triad and was able to just be comfortable in believing in the religion that's prevalent in Cyrese and in that area of the continent, and that she just is like, I know that I'm going to the after I die, and so I'm happy and content with my life, and I live in the bakery, and that's kind of it. And Maeve's just not like that, and she needs to know the answers, and truth is her most important element. And so, in all of that, it's really characterized like in that first sentence, my mother's death is absolution, just not mine. Her mother has found absolution in death, and she doesn't have it. So I think that first line is like super telling, also emotional and visceral, and brings people into a really beautiful scene. So I've been getting quite a bit of feedback, even when I've gotten rejections. I've gotten at least 4 personalized rejections from agents that have said, please send me your next manuscript, or this isn't right for me, but your writing is amazing. So and then the agents that have requested have usually led with, your sample pages were amazing, please send me the manuscript. So I do believe that my new sample pages are really bringing agents in. Obviously, I can't say much about the rest of the manuscript as I haven't really gotten any good feedback yet on the rest of the manuscript. And I don't know how those requests are going to pan out, but I do know that these new sample pages are working much more than the sample pages where she starts out in the library. Again, that scene still exists. It's just after this scene. So I wrote in a new scene. I moved everything 5 years forward, and then she still goes to the library and searches for information on a dragon. But by the time we get to that scene, we know a lot more about Maeve.